Hey, what is up, everybody? We are back. It's the Week 7 edition of the Sons of UCF pregame show featuring Trace Trelko. As always, I am Adam, and I am one half of the Sons of UCF. The other half, the star of the Sons of UCF, in a tank top this evening, Mr. UCF Mike. Mike, welcome to the show. How are you, buddy?
Doing good, man. Can't wait for this game. It's a night game. I'm in my pajamas already, ready to go. Just to relax. It's going to be a comfortable win, so I got comfortable for this one.
I just hope you have pants on. And as always, the biggest free agent in the UCF podcast game, Mr. Trace Trelko, is joining us for another week. Trace, welcome back. How are you, my friend? I see you've survived the cornfields of Colorado.
I have. I'll be back soon, though. I am well. I missed the memo on the gun show tonight. I would have dressed more appropriately, had Mike told me, but it's all right. I'll keep it all contained under the polo shirt.
No, you bring a classy element to the show, Trace, that one day Mike will pick up on. So anyway, we will get you set for the tilt between the Knights and the Owls this evening, 7:30 ESPNU in the Bounce House. We'll have guests, we'll have reactions, we'll have newsmakers, we'll have breaking news, we'll have some fun along the way. So we appreciate you for joining us. If you enjoy what you hear today, don't forget to find us on the Sons of UCF podcast, where you get your fine, high-quality podcast. So, Trace, this is the topic that we've kind of belabored the last couple of weeks, but we have not had a chance to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, an off week in between the Houston game and today. But the news we talked about 2 weeks ago has finally come to kind of a finality, I suppose. UCF dismissing 4 players from the team for I don't know if we got a full exact reason why they were dismissed, but 4 players on the defense dismissed, 4 starters on the defense dismissed. What are your overall thoughts on how that entire situation kind of wrapped up?
Well, 4 players dismissed, not that those 4 were ever officially named by head coach Josh Heupel, which made me think a little bit that, the journalist in me wants to know the who, what, when, where, why, and how, but the UCF alum and fan in me respects the fact that Coach Heupel wants to keep things private. We always want to know more as journalists than he is certainly willing to give up. You hate to see it. Obviously, it's not what you want as representing the UCF football program, and we may never know the full story. As you said on the Sons of UCF, when you don't give out many details, fans are left to speculate, and you wonder what may have been happened to them before, what may have happened on their records before within the team and their conduct to lead to a dismissal. Certainly the videotape that was released, the body cam footage, did no one any favors. I wish these guys all the best. I hope that they would have finished out their careers strong for UCF, all, of course, entering the transfer portal. Talented young men. You hope that this mistake, the mistakes that they've made, do not cloud them the rest of their lives. They have promising futures ahead. Get your degrees wherever you end up doing that and go on and lead very good lives. So hopefully lesson learned for them. And, UCF brought out some other players that we talked about in the preview to the Houston game. Would they step up? They did step up. And then they hit the bye week and have an opportunity tonight to show off a little bit more with Temple coming to town. You mentioned some breaking news. Temple quarterback Anthony Russo is not going to be playing. He is back in Philadelphia, and COVID protocol reports Temple Owls Daily. And the starter is going to be a dual threat quarterback, Rayal Mitchell. So, UCF has struggled in years past with a dual threat quarterback. Hopefully they can contain him and he doesn't do too much damage tonight.
Well, Mike, let's quickly kind of put a bow on this. Obviously you mentioned it last week. You mentioned on the pregame show 2 weeks ago. This gives the young guys a chance. Some guys who get a chance to step up and play on defense. What do you expect to see from those guys tonight? How do you think those guys will react, considering that obviously this is an opportunity for them to get some additional playing time that maybe they weren't going to see otherwise?
And we've seen guys like Corey Thornton already getting a lot of playing time this year. Devontae Brown's been out there a lot. So these guys have already – this is not their first start. So they've been getting in a lot of action already this year. I'm expecting them just to keep things rolling, keep progressing on what we've been seeing. We had the best defensive performance of the year last week against Houston. So just keep building on that. And this is a game now where we can work on things that we're not good at. Like Trace just mentioned, running quarterbacks. We've never been good at defending those. Well, then we're going to have a good shot at that to get us ready for Ritter, who next week likes to run a lot too.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know Russo wasn't starting. That's a big blow for Temple. He didn't play in a few games early this year, and they got blown out in pretty much every game. I was expecting a blowout coming into today, even more so now. As long as we can contain the running quarterback, we'll be fine.
You know, you mentioned Ritter there, and Cost-Seg Advisor's been saying it today. This gives UCF an opportunity to prepare for Ritter because they're going to see that mobility from Ritter next week in the biggest game of the year, certainly. Not to look ahead, which is the danger in this tonight, right? I certainly know that I am looking ahead to what I consider UCF's real bowl game next week, no matter what they might do in the postseason. And so you hope that the players don't do that. And you need strong coaching this week to keep them focused on the task at hand.
Well, let's talk about where we are. The way UCF season kind of breaks out, it's kind of an act in three parts, right? We had the first 3 games of bye, the next 3 games of bye, and we are now on the last leg of the season, Trace. So 2/3 of the way through, I'm going to use a Trace Trucco special here. Grade the Knights. 2/3 of the way through the season. Where do you have UCF on a grading scale and what you've seen thus far?
B-, I would say.
Okay.
And you could certainly then break that down, offense and defense and special teams and coaching. But when you're 4-2, you're certainly not in A territory. Offense has been, stand out the last couple of weeks, but as we've seen, struggled in the red zone at times and certainly lacked consistency in the loss to Tulsa. So in the next act here, the final 3, the stretch run, can they put it together? Can they play 4 quarters? Snap to whistle, all 3 phases of the game, and go 3-0. They certainly have the talent. You certainly like them being favored with Temple and the Cows. Again, not to look ahead, but really next week is for a lot in terms of the way we look at their season. You know, you finish strong, 7-2, going into a bowl game, and I think fans look back on this season a little bit differently. But do another 2-1 stretch to finish 6-3. You know, lose to Cincinnati, and I think we're thinking differently of this season, certainly.
Well, so Trace, if you had a magic genie, and you got one wish, and there's one thing that you want to see UCF do better these next 3 games, one thing and one thing only, what's that thing?
Well, I got to see more from Dylan Gabriel. You know, he was only 19 of 33 for 328 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. So you know, he's got to show me more. No, if can I just say consistency. And everybody playing together well and not point out any one particular aspect of the game or any one particular player, just bringing it all together, which I think for any team in the country, you want to see your team, injuries notwithstanding, COVID notwithstanding, that certainly has impacted Temple tonight. COVID protocols, I think they're only suiting up 50 guys or so for this game. So bringing your best together down the stretch. Show us what you got. This is a very talented team. That talent, though, hasn't always resulted in a win. The 1-point loss against Memphis, the debacle with Tulsa. They have the talent to win these games. Can they bring it all together? So if that's the one thing I'm looking for.
Mike, same question to you. Grade the Knights. 2/3 of the way through. What grade do you give them?
Coming into the year, we all said we were going to go undefeated. We were going to go make the playoffs. It's been a big disappointment, obviously. We're still alive for the conference. As many people want to put us away, and if there's still a chance, there's life. We need a big game tonight at Tulsa. I think we need Tulsa to beat SMU tonight, to be honest. But a grade for the season, I'll go with Trace, a low B, a high C, and with room to move up. A room, now if we finish these next 3 games, we beat Cincinnati next week, we get to a bowl game, we win the bowl game. And like I said, if we make the conference championship game and win that, you can move up to an A-. You know, why not? But still a lot of work to be done. It starts tonight. I'd like to see the run game get going and continue what we did against Houston. Because Dylan Gabriel, you can't say enough about that kid. He's had an outstanding season. Last week against Houston, we ran for over 300 yards on the ground. Let's keep that going because staying balanced is going to be key here in the next few games.
Well, let's talk on the injury front really quickly. Trace, I know before we came on, you were sharing with Mike and I an update you had seen on social media about Trey Nixon. What's the latest on Trey Nixon?
Yeah, social media post of him out on the field, but looking like he's in street clothes, shorts, and a T-shirt. So we weren't sure we would see him back. By the way, Coach Heupel finally acknowledged him after all these weeks. Mentioned that he was out there running around. We didn't even know he was hurt. I didn't know where he'd been. He just sort of disappeared. So, you shouldn't need him tonight. You may need him next week against Cincinnati. So good to see him back. We weren't sure, certainly, if he would make his return at all this season. So we hope to see him back. But guys have stepped up. We have other talented wide receivers. week goes on at wide receiver U.
Yeah, he finally found that update on Trey Nixon. He'd been looking for it for weeks. The medical staff was going to get it to him. I assume it was on his desk. Maybe it was underneath like a car and driver magazine or something. He just couldn't find it. But it sounds like he finally got that update on Trey Nixon. So good to know about Trey Nixon. On the injury front, we don't yet know about a couple of guys. Parker Boudreaux. I'm scouring social media. Nothing yet on Parker Boudreaux's status. Mike shaking his head no.
I saw somewhere where it looks like he's not playing, or at least he posted something and somebody commented it looks like he's not playing. I don't know how official that is, but it doesn't look
not
like
very not very official. Somebody somewhere posted something. I wouldn't bank that one, but
well, I think Parker posted something and somebody deduced that he wasn't playing or he wasn't with the team.
And then probably the name that a lot of us are watching, Mackenzie Milton. This week, the Josh Heupel was asked directly about Mackenzie's status and essentially said that he's not yet ready to suit up, and that when he is indeed ready to suit up, that he will indeed suit up. But it didn't sound like Heupel was optimistic about him suiting up this week. Again, you never know if that's a smokescreen or not. Trace, any sense of whether A, you think Mackenzie will suit up, or B, whether you think Mackenzie should suit up?
I think I, like all of Night Nation, continue to root for Mackenzie, and we want to see Mackenzie play again. I don't anticipate it's going to be this week. You hope that UCF gets a big enough lead. We talk about this every week, that you might see some other quarterbacks get in, but I don't expect it to be Mackenzie Milton. And should, it's what his doctors and what he feels is best. Certainly we saw Alex Smith's return for Washington this year, and you see him out there and you go, oh, you're just waiting for the guy to get hit and you're nervous about it. Then he gets into the action and he gets hit and he gets back up again. And we're going to all need to see that with Mackenzie at some point, whether it happens here in these next 3 games, possible conference championship game, possible bowl game, I don't know. But I think we may yet see Mackenzie Milton at some point putting on a uniform and trotting out there, but I'm not sure that it's tonight.
Who's the first quarterback if it's not Mackenzie? Is it Parker Navarro or is it Quadri Jones?
Well, if Quadri's going to throw any pass, it needs to be a completion. So whatever the game plan, whatever the play call is, needs to be a completion, since he's never had an incompletion.
I still think Quadri should hold on extra points and kickoffs, but that's just me. Mike, I know you and I talked about this, maybe the best game for Mackenzie to get in. Obviously, we don't quite yet know if that'll take place or not. But, what are your thoughts overall? Do you think we save him for the Cal game? Do you think that's the game that, if tonight doesn't work out, the game that most makes sense for him to get into this year?
Well, I don't see him getting into the game next week unless it's blowout somehow either way, which we'll expect a close game next week against Cincinnati. This week makes sense. It's the last home game before Cincinnati where he can get in and we should be up comfortably. The Cal game makes sense too because that's where he got hurt and it kind of brings everything back around in a circle. So that would be nice. I'm still holding out hope that he comes out in warm-ups and then at halftime he comes out. And remember we talked to Marquette Smith and he said Gene McDowell did that to him. He was hurt one game, went into the locker room and we needed him in the second half. He said, put your pads on, you're coming out. I say if we're up 4 or 5 touchdowns at the half tonight, Heupel goes over to Casey and say, you ready to throw it around a couple times and get the thrill and put him out there for the second half, at least for our series.
Well, one good news I can report is our curse is broken. We still have not found Jeff Godfrey, who was going to join us last week. But our guest this week has arrived, and happy to bring him in now. It is a former UCF kicker and UCF alum, Mr. Dylan Barnes, is with us live from the Bounce House tonight. Dylan, thanks so much for taking some time to join us tonight.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start here. Obviously, you were just a part of this team just 1 year ago, and high expectations coming to this year. Knights are 4-2 overall. Not sure how much you've kept up with them, but what are your thoughts so far on the 4-2 record and the season that you've seen thus far?
Yeah, it's I've kept up a lot with it being being only 1 year out. Obviously, know a lot of the guys, and been to a couple games. Actually, traveled to Georgia Tech and saw some family there, and same with Houston a couple weeks ago. So it's been fun traveling with the team and seeing the other side. Obviously, it's a little different and a little weird being on the other side of it, not being on the field. But overall, I mean, the team is our offense is firing well. I mean, as everybody has seen, we're explosive. But I think it's a matter of a couple plays if you think about it. When you look at the record of 4-2, it's only a matter of a couple plays, similar to what last year was. And I mean, it's unfortunate. Just sometimes you're on the wrong side of it, but overall, I mean, the team is really young, I think, and a lot of guys are having to learn really fast and step up. But sometimes it's what you need, and it's I think overall in the long run, it's going to help.
So when you're at the stadium tonight, they canceled the shuttle launch because they said it was a little too windy. What are the conditions out there like tonight for a kicker like you?
Yeah, I'm at the top of the stadium, so I'm getting kind of the full effect of the wind, and it's I don't know, it's probably 10, 15 miles an hour, with some gusts. So it's not too bad because once you're in the bowl, it's some of it's being blocked by the stadium. It would have been cool to see the launch with SpaceX going off during the game. I feel like that's what Eric DeSalvo especially really wants to see, along with a lot of fans, just to have that special moment, because that, whenever that happens, it's going to be a really special moment when that time comes. Unfortunately, it wasn't today, though.
Dylan, against Temple, you hit all of your PATs. Do you remember how many that was?
I honestly could not tell you. I
Nine.
remember.
Nine. Not bad.
Is that close to a record? I mean,
You got to be close to a record.
It's a lot of points.
You played alongside Daniel Obarski, and we saw him a couple of weeks ago. Important game-winning field goal, and he misses that and has a little bit of a, meltdown on the sideline that gets, of course, captured by TV cameras. Tell us about Daniel Obarski and the competitor he is, and what you make of that moment with him in that game.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that obviously you think about as a kicker for your whole career until you have it. Obviously it didn't go his way, and it's unfortunate, but it's a big learning experience for him and the people around him, and I've talked to him almost every week since then, and the kid has grown a lot. Just kind of taken a similar route that I did, because I had a similar feeling per se in the spring, that when Matt left and I was the guy that was supposed to take over, putting a lot of pressure on myself and not performing how I knew I could perform. So I had to take a step back and just relax and understand that, hey, I've got 1 year to do this. I want to enjoy the game. I don't want to put so much pressure on myself. I want to have fun with it, because this doesn't last forever. And that's what I did. And obviously the season went well for me, but this was, I think, a big learning experience for Daniel, and the competitor that he is. I gave him some advice, and just to kind of relax and enjoy what he's doing and enjoy the moment. Don't let the moment overtake you, but just soak it in and enjoy it and live it up while you're there.
So we had a chance to talk to Javier Berlegi a few weeks back, a great kicker for UCF back in the early 2000s. And he told us that practice for the kicker was sometimes even more stressful than the games. That, there were drills that they would run that if he missed, everyone else had to run certain sprints or whatnot. And that when it came time to make kicks in game, it was easy for him because of all the work he had done during the week. Take us into a week of practice for a kicker. What are you guys working on? How often are you put in spots like that where you got to make pressure kicks and your teammates are kind of riding on you? What does a week of practice look like?
Yeah. One thing that Toth and his staff, everybody there, does well is we're trying to replicate as many different aspects of the game, per se, during the week. So whether that be, hey, we've got, one day at the end of practice, we've got pressure field goal. And you'll put something on the line some weeks, and some weeks you won't. Just depends on the coaches. But obviously every day of the week is a little bit different. Tuesdays are heavy field goal days for us. depending on the weather or what will sometimes come into the stadium, or if the game is on a turf field, probably focus more on the turf aspect, stay inside a lot more, because we do get that work in a period about halfway through practice outside with the team. So every week's a little bit different, but we try to simulate as much as we can, obviously, during the week. And excuse me, if you're for instance, if I was struggling at a specific point or spot during that week, whether it be the right hash or left hash or short or long, I was focusing a little bit more on that and taking a couple more reps, doing more mental reps, and going from there. So every week's a little bit different, but they try to prepare us for all those different situations, whether it be in spring or in fall practice. They're trying to do the best that they can to prepare us for the situations. But everybody knows the situation is obviously a little bit different than a practice, just because you can't replicate everything exactly.
Dylan, there's a big game next week against Cincinnati. Us as fans, we're allowed to look forward to it. You were in the locker room last year. What's Heupel saying to the team during a week like this? We're having a game against a team we should win, but he doesn't want everybody to look past these guys.
Yeah, it's more or less just saying, hey guys, we got to focus on this tonight. We've got a couple hours, then we can switch over. It's, hey, we've got to focus for our next couple of hours on this thing right in front of us. So it's be where your feet are, is what I like to say. Be where your feet are. You'll have the most focus you can, and then after we go over this next challenge, then we can focus on the big one at hand. Obviously, because everybody has the certain games obviously marked on the calendar. I mean, it is what it is, right? But you've got to focus on the one at hand, because if you don't, they can get out of hand real quick, and you see that throughout college football week to week, really.
You talk about hitting the practice field after a game, working on kicks, a heavy Tuesday. What can the team, the coaches do to help a player whose self-confidence may take a little bit of a hit after a miss like Daniel had in that Memphis game?
Yeah, it's really just rallying around the guys, because everybody's not going to have their best game every week, right? DG is not going to throw for 600 yards every week, and there's going to be some weeks where he struggles, or say Marlon or the defense struggles, or something like that. So you just got to rally around each other, still pushing each other, but definitely lifting each other up and being there for when you need to be.
Dylan, tonight the Knights are breaking out their Black Ops helmets, one of the new uniform accoutrements. How much did you guys care about the uniform stuff? Would you guys get hyped up the weeks before Space Game uniforms or some of the new uniform combos? Does that stuff really matter to the players?
So the Space Game holds a very close spot to my heart. Being from the Space Coast, being from Merritt Island. My family worked the space program, so that was always a game that I was always really excited for, just to see the uniforms. Obviously, last year being the Apollo uniforms, that one was really cool to me. Obviously, getting to keep that for my senior day, so I get to hold that as kind of a part of history, and that's awesome to me. But the uniforms it's definitely always interesting to see what Rich and the guys come up with for that week. I'm a little jealous of the coordinates on the back bumper of the helmets this week, though. I will say that.
You said you're at the top of the stadium. It doesn't look like you're in the Bennett Club, so you just at the Roth Tower. What are you drinking? What are you eating in there? What are you having some lunch on?
Actually, I just got here, so I haven't even had much time to think about what my menu options are going to be for the night. But yeah, I got fortunate, and I had a little connect with one of my friends, and we're chilling up in the tower today.
How much are you missing not being out on the field?
Say that again?
How much are you missing not being out on that field tonight?
I come to every game, and I will say it hasn't gotten easier every game. I want to be back. I want to be out there. obviously as bad as the next person. Especially just because I had my 1 year and I felt like I was only getting started. But sometimes that's how it goes, and you gotta just go with what you're dealt.
Dylan, I know you're still involved. You're still doing some coaching, right? You're helping out some young kids, and I know you're doing some camps. What can you tell us about what you're doing, and how can people maybe connect with you if they're interested in learning more?
Yeah, I'm really I'm working with a couple of different avenues, I guess you could say, with my former kicking coach Dan Lundy with Fourth Down University in Daytona, and then working out of Tampa. Actually have a camp tomorrow with a couple of high school guys in Tampa at Carrollwood Day with one of my close buddies, Stephen Yaffe. Just trying to give back and spread the knowledge that I've learned and try to just develop the next stage of kickers in the state, really, and try to make Florida a real hotspot for kickers, because one thing was that I didn't get was I got great coaching, but I didn't get a lot of exposure, and that's something that I want to try to help with some kids to get the looks that they deserve or that they should be getting at the next level. So it's something to keep me involved in the game, because I'd love to keep playing and go to the next level, whether that is the NFL or the XFL or the CFL, whatever it is. I just want an opportunity to show what I can still do and play the game that I love.
Well, Dylan, we got about a half hour till kickoff. We'll let you go so you can get your first beverage in you there, and get something good to eat and get you ready for game time. But we appreciate you taking some time to chat with us tonight. Thank you so much. Best of luck to you in the upcoming future, and hopefully we'll get a chance to stay in touch. Go Knights.
Charge on, baby. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, bud. Have a good time tonight.
See ya.
All right, Dylan Barnes. It'd be great if Dylan Gabriel joined us on the show, but we'll take Dylan Barnes nonetheless. Trace, I thought he offered some good insight on Daniel Obarski. Obviously, we've never heard him in a media setting. I don't think, unless I'm missing something, but I don't think he's ever been in a media session availability. You got the insight into maybe what it's like. Did anything Dylan shared with you tonight make you feel better about kind of Obarski and these upcoming 3 games?
Well, I think Matt Prater and how successful he's been in the NFL and the times he gave us fits as UCF fans. And, Daniel Obarski probably won't be perfect for his career, and maybe he's gotten a couple of big misses out of the way, and he's grown and learned from it. And, TV cameras have a funny way of capturing your meltdown. We talk about it all the time, right? If any of us on our jobs were captured on every time we made a mistake and our subsequent reaction, would we enjoy it? It wasn't his best moment, but can he learn and grow from it? And, I think this season has been interesting. There have been different times where you wonder, well, now that they've lost this game, will the team cave? Will they rally around one another? When you have a miss like that, do you rally? I think it's self-confidence, and it's the confidence in coaching to go back to him to make a kick. And he's going to need to string together some kicks before I think we as fans have that confidence in him to make it. And, you hope it doesn't come down to a game-winning field goal tonight, but not again, looking ahead to next week. But you never know. At some point during his career, he's going to be called upon to make an important kick. And, you want coaches to have confidence in him. You want us to have confidence in him. But most importantly, you want him to have confidence in himself. And he can only do that by getting right back out there on the horse and keep kicking. So I hope we see more good things from Daniel Obarski.
He hits a game winner next week, man. I think all is forgiven, right?
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he gets a statue next to George O'Leary. A couple of quick updates. This comes from Brian Murphy at @spokes_Murphy. Trey Nixon in the building, was on the field during pregame, is now not on the field as the wide receivers are out there. And Brandon Moore is there on the field. Doesn't look like he's playing, of course, but Brandon Moore obviously was involved in the incident a few weeks back. So Brian Murphy reporting that Brandon Moore is indeed with the team today. All right, let's get into something really quick before we bring our next guest on. So Mike and I did a show this week, Sons of UCF podcast. Make sure you check us out. And because it was a bye week and we had nothing else to talk about, and because we were sort of celebrating / mourning the untimely death of one Alex Trebek, we played a little UCF Jeopardy. Mike and I came up with a couple different topics, a couple different questions. We went head-to-head on UCF Jeopardy. And after 2 rounds, the score wound up myself, 2,600, and Mr. UCF Mike, 1,900. However, very tough to do a final Jeopardy round when both of us may know the answer. Luckily for us, we have a savant of all things UCF, Mr. Trace Trelko here. And so we are going to settle the final Jeopardy or the Jeopardy game for once and for all. Trace is going to give Mike and I exclusively his final Jeopardy question, of which we must wager our points to figure out who is the winner. So that's the backdrop, Mike. I don't know if you have paper next to you to write down your point total. Obviously, want to make sure everything here is above board. Mike is ready as always. I've got my paper as well.
And
so
blank papers. I know nothing yet.
Okay, Mike knows nothing yet. We weren't. No one accused you of anything at this point, Mike. So let's.
It's right. It's written right here. You can't possibly know anything. I haven't shared anything.
All right, so let's stop the steal right now. Trace, give us the long-awaited final Jeopardy category question. Mike and I are ready for you.
The category is firsts. Firsts. Now
Okay.
read the question in channeling my Alex Trebek. By the way, you hope that you live a life and are remembered as fondly as Alex Trebek has been these last few days. A great contributor to pop culture and overall pleasant experience watching him through the years. So you hope you live your life as well as that. All right, ready for the question, guys? You've made your wagers?
I'm
Okay,
ready.
here's your question. George O'Leary patrolled the sidelines for the first time as UCF head coach against this team in 2004.
Oh, God. Mike's already writing. This is not good.
Is it 30 seconds? Let me bring up my
yeah, we're
clock
just
here. Stopwatch, start. While you answer, I will share that Jason Beatty at The Real Beatty spotted UCF quarterback Mackenzie Milton not warming up, Milton wearing pants and a hoodie under his jersey. So that answers your Mackenzie Milton wardrobe status prior to tonight's game against Temple. 10 seconds left on the 30-second clock. Get your answers in. Again, the question, George O'Leary patrolled the sidelines for the first time as UCF head coach against this team in 2004. Time is up. Dun, dun, dun. So who's first and what is your wager?
I think Mike gets to go first because he's trailing.
All right. I'm pretty sure this was the first game. I was very confident. Now I'm getting a little nervous. It might have been the second game. But I'm going to say, who is Wisconsin?
Who is Wisconsin? Is
Wisconsin?
incorrect.
Oh!
That is incorrect. What is your wager, sir?
Damn. I was going to write 0 on another paper, but I wrote all of it.
Well, the good news is, Mike, I also guessed Wisconsin. I wrote whiskey, though, because I didn't want to write Wisconsin out. And I wagered 1,300. So I didn't blow my entire winnings there. So I think I must win this by default because you defaulted there.
I had another paper where I was going to write 0 just in case this happened, and I was still.
So the key words in the question were patrolled the sideline.
Oh, he wasn't there because his mom passed away.
George O'Leary's credited first game is the week prior in the 2004 season, a loss at Wisconsin. He actually was on the sidelines the following week in a loss to West Virginia.
Trace Trelko strikes again.
I remember the Wisconsin game. We just got a hurricane had just passed by down here, and I remember not being able to watch it or something.
I had 2 questions. Would you like to hear the other?
Yeah, what do you got? What's the other one?
In 1992, UCF became the first collegiate team to play which Russian team on American soil in an October 3rd game at the Citrus Bowl?
Who are the Russian Bears?
Close.
Moscow Bears, right?
The Moscow Bears.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bingo.
But I went with the other trickier question.
That is wow. Very, very good, Trace. Very good. While we're on trivia, I do have one for this game too. So UCF playing Temple, obviously a couple of big moments in this rivalry history, if you will. Only been playing since 2013. Who has the longest reception for a touchdown in the UCF and Temple series? Longest touchdown reception. I know many of you are probably thinking of one famous touchdown reception, but ask yourself, was that the longest? We will answer that question here as we get on. Some other news that broke this week, Trace, Mike, you and I haven't talked about this yet either. Former, conference championship winning quarterback Darryl Mack has announced his intentions to transfer. Obviously, Mack had opted out for this year and was not part of the Knights program here in 2020. Trace, Darryl Mack's legacy and the blow to UCF for Darryl Mack leaving.
I don't know that there's a blow to Darryl Mack leaving for the UCF program. I think when your legacy, when you're looked back upon, as we mentioned with a career like Alex Trebek's, the body of work and the career won't be extensive for Darryl Mack Jr. while with UCF, but his contributions to that big 2018 AAC championship game win over Memphis will long live in UCF history. Just 19 of 27, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, but he had 72 yards, 4 touchdowns, contributing 6 touchdowns in that game. UCF trailed at the half, rallied to win. I think that is a strong legacy for him, and going to be a lot of what ifs with him. What if he doesn't get injured in a freak off the field incident? Does he compete for the starting job? Does Dylan Gabriel emerge as the starter? Does Josh Heupel go with the freshman? Or is that Darryl Mack's job? I do know, and we talked about it throughout last season, that I would have liked to see him come in certain packages and give Dylan a chance to scan the field and catch his breath. And I think there were some better ways that Coach Heupel might have used Darryl Mack. Blow to the program, no. He as well entering the transfer portal. And, I wish him all the best. I root for him. I don't want to root for him in a cow uniform. They are severely in need of a quarterback. They fall at Houston today. Only 1 win on the season. Bad year for the Cows. I don't want to see him end up there, but I wish him all the best wherever he goes.
Yeah, I'd hate to see him come back and kill us in a game somehow or beat us in a conference game, but I wish him the best of luck. That conference championship game is one for the record books for sure. The East Carolina game where he filled in for Milton earlier in that season. I mean, he was always been a great kid, has always said the right thing. And if he doesn't get hurt before last season, we might still not have seen Dylan Gabriel play football. Because remember, Brendan Wildenbush started the season last year. Dylan Gabriel was 3rd on the depth chart. He probably would have redshirted. If Max starts the season and starts out, winning a few games, who knows what happens. He had a couple of nice big plays in the Fiesta Bowl against LSU. The touchdown right before halftime on a beautiful pass at the end zone. I wish him the best of luck. As long as he doesn't come back and beat us and he doesn't play against us, I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the feats he pulled off in 2018, you think about the pressure that kid was under, replacing Mackenzie Milton, the devastating injury and sort of where the fan base was, that entire game, the Ohana theme leading up to it, all the pressure in the world on that kid. First half did not go his way. I think we can all admit that now. That was not the best half of football. And he came out second half and was lights out, 6 total touchdowns in that game. Wherever he goes, whatever he does, obviously he'll still always be remembered for that magical afternoon when he helped lead the UCF to a conference championship and in the Fiesta Bowl where he played okay. He didn't play terrible. He didn't play great. He played okay. He had us in positions to win still. I know an 8-point game overall, but he had us in position to win. So wherever Darryl ends up, obviously he will be hopefully he'll be successful, and we'll continue to root for him once a night. Always a night is kind of the thing around here. Speaking of people who are Knights, though, we have a fellow UCF Knight, an alum who is waiting now back in the green room, who is going to join us here right now. Let me bring in Bree McKnight from Spectrum Sports, a UCF alum and a reporter at Spectrum Sports, who is here to give us her perspective on all things UCF related. Bree, thanks so much for taking some time to join us tonight.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me. I apologize in advance. I'm sitting in my car. I'm actually at the airport here in a second. So I'm trying to make sure we make it work, but light's good. As long as you can hear me, we'll be good to go.
We can hear you just fine. So before takeoff, then let's start here. The Knights are 4-2. I think a lot of us had thought they'd be 6-0 at this point. They're not. They're 4-2. How do you assess UCF so far to date?
So so far, obviously, like you guys just said, we expected a lot out of this team, which is tough at the end of the day when you're constantly. I guess to backtrack, I was in Alabama last job, Mobile, Alabama, Roll Tide country, and I wore my UCF gear with pride, my national championship shirt with pride. And everyone was always scoffing at me and like, oh, UCF, just wanting them to lose. And it was, I embraced it. I loved it. And so let me just tell you, I'm very happy I'm not in Alabama right now because I know I would not hear the end of it. With everything, obviously the two heartbreaking losses last year, I never heard the end of it. With those three losses. So yeah, to assess it, it's a tough pill to swallow, but I think at the same time, we all got a little greedy as UCF fans. I mean, I was a class of 2015. I was there with Blake Bortles. They had a really, really good season. I think that's actually when UCF was put on the map before all of this. And I think we found success pretty quick. And I think we all got really greedy. I think we all were like, oh, we should be undefeated every year. We should be going to conference championship every year. The beauty of college football is that it doesn't happen. Look at Alabama. They don't go every single year. They basically do. Not every single year. SEC obviously a little different. But yeah, so I think fan base, we got a little too greedy. I think this team is still doing what they need to do. I think they're still young. At one point, loving seeing Mark Williams step up. That's a Mobile guy, so I'm pumped to see that. But overall, I'm still pumped to be a UCF fan, and I'm not too worried about them. In the future, I think they're in good hands.
Bree, you mentioned you were there in 2013. That season had a lot of close games, including a game against Temple, who we're playing tonight. What's your best memory from being a student at all those games?
Oh gosh, so I actually permanently damaged my voice box that season from just screaming. So if I go anywhere and have to scream for long periods of time, my voice just goes right away. Gosh, there's just too many to name, but I'll never forget when they beat Louisville. And, me and my best friends and her now husband all went and greeted the team back at the Wayne Deck Center at 3 a.m. when they got back. And it was just see the smiles and the excitement on their faces. I mean, Blake was a good friend of my best friend. They went to high school together. So we knew all those guys pretty well. So just to see them, come together it was cool. But that's probably top 2, going to see them, at 2, 3 in the morning when they had just got that huge road win. That was a good one.
Bree, we share similar career paths. I was radio TV major at UCF and worked in Florida, then worked in Huntsville, Alabama as a reporter and anchor. So I was surrounded by the Roll Tide and the War Eagle. Of course, I was there when UCF beat Alabama, so that was good to rub in. You got to cover UCF back now in Orlando as a reporter a couple of weeks ago in the Tulane game. What were your emotions covering that game, going from student there at the Wayne Dench, greeting the team, to being on the air in local Orlando TV, reporting on them?
I still, later, it's still hard for me to put into words of what that meant to me. Because I've only been out of college, almost 6 years now? Oh gosh, it's been a while, but I've only been out of college 6 years, and to get to a top 20 market and cover your hometown team, a team that you have so much pride about. Guys, I'm in the process of buying a house. This is home for me. And as you know, in this business, Trace, it's a tough business. It's a dog-eat-dog world. It's not, you're living in places you don't know anybody. My dad's an hour away from me. My mom's 2, my brothers, and it's just so great to be back home. And then on top of it, the cherry on top, I get to cover my alma mater. And the other cool part is, Eric Del Salvo's still there. A lot of the same people are still there from when I was there. I was the color commentary for UCF baseball. Me and my friend Brian Levine. That started with Chimp Fontanez. I don't know if you guys remember that name at all. He really helped us kind of get our start and let us find our passion for the sport, for sports broadcasting. So to go back to your question, it was a great feeling. It was amazing, and it just made me realize hard work pays off, and there's no such thing as a dream that's too big. Because I do remember being a student my senior year saying, I'm going to get back here and be doing this for a living. And here I am 6 years later. So it was pretty surreal.
Well, Brie, another dog eat dog profession is college coaches, and obviously Josh Heupel, has been here for his third season now. But some folks have had some questions about Heupel. Where are you in terms of where you think Heupel is now, and do you think he's the right fit long term for UCF?
I go so back and forth on this. I saw a funny meme about Scott Frost yesterday, how just rugged he looks now compared to when he first took the Nebraska job. And it still kills me because that man had the keys to Orlando. I mean, he could have been the mayor. He was just that it still hurts. It still hurts to see. But moving forward, I think Heupel has done what he needs to do, but we need to get that one step further, if that makes any sense. Recruiting wise, culture wise, I was very not proud, but not impressed. I don't know the exact word I'm looking for, but the moves he did make with, obviously the couple defensive players, getting released, and because I hate to say, Urban Meyer of the world brushes that underneath, the rug and moves on, and then those kids never get help, aka Aaron Hernandez. And so I'm not comparing those players to Aaron Hernandez by any means, but I think he kind of set a bar, set a tone for the rest of the players, and that to me was impressive. But at the same time, I think Heupel needs to take his level of coaching one step further. And if that doesn't happen, I know, going back to the very first question you guys asked me, this UCF fan base is a little greedy, and they're ruthless. And so if you're not going back to that conference championship, they won't be liking Heupel for too much longer.
You mentioned you're about to get on a plane. You're going to miss the game coming up?
No. I'm not. I'm picking somebody up from the airport.
Oh, okay.
No,
I'm
going straight to the closest bar to watch the game. This is the first time I've been off for a UCF game this season, so I'm really excited.
All right, cool. So you don't know where you're watching it, though?
I think we're going to end up at the Ale House or something. I don't even know. Just somewhere where I can watch it.
All right. So what's your dream job to cover? Is it UCF in the college football playoff, I guess, or is there something else?
I mean,
Super Bowl.
Yeah. So it's funny how your career paths change in local news. I think some of you guys can attest to this, but when I first started, it was like, oh, ESPN, that is what I want to do. Here I am. Let's do it. And now, as you get older, your mindset shifts a little bit. You start thinking about possibly having a family one day. And obviously this life isn't necessarily super conducive to that. So, I'm really, really happy with where I am. Not only do I get to cover UCF, but we do a lot of storytelling at Spectrum Sports 360. And that to me is one of the most fulfilling parts of the job. Get to meet these kids and these athletes and these fans and these coaches who just have these really powerful stories to share. There's so many off the top of my head, and I'm getting to do it in my hometown. I'm from Melbourne, Florida. So I grew up in Melbourne. So getting to tag out saying in Melbourne, Brie McNaught, Spectrum Sports 360 is still pinch me moments. And I've been here for almost a year now. So I think I'm where my dream is. Who knows where that dream is in a couple of years, but for now it's here.
All right, settle this once and for all, okay? This will be the last time it's ever discussed. 2013 Knights versus 2017 Knights. Who wins the game?
Oh, God. So I was a student then, so those guys seemed so big to me. Joey Grant, all those, the twins, they all seemed so big because I was there. And now that I'm out of school, the 2017 obviously seem younger. So comparison, also, fun fact, I helped take some of the players on their official visits and stuff. I was a part of all that program at UCF. And so why am I blanking on his name right now? I took a couple of them, and so they always seem smaller to me. They always just seem younger. So I guess size-wise, matching up in the trenches, I would take the 2013 Knights. But fast-wise, I don't know if the 2013 Knights are keeping up with that pace of football, between McKenzie and just that go, go, go mentality. I don't know if those guys could have done it cardio-wise.
Well, Brie, we'll let you go make sure you get that flight caught there. You get your friend picked up and you get to the local watering hole soon to watch the game. But we appreciate you taking some time out, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with you soon.
I appreciate you guys having me. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, Brie. All right, Bree McNaught from the Spectrum Sports Channel there. Obviously, some good perspective, and it's always cool to see, Trace. This is probably near and dear to your heart, seeing UCF folks grow up at school and get get degrees and then go out and get a chance to work in the business. Always cool to see a UCF alum out there doing what they love to do.
Yeah, and she only a few years removed from UCF to go full circle with a couple of stops along the way and make it back. And that's just a dream come true, cover your alma mater on a daily basis. Of course, that then becomes challenging, as we find here. We struggle when we have to talk about things like the dismissal of players. It hurts more when you're partial to a program. So I appreciate her hopping on and joining us, and it sounds like her career is continuing to flourish.
All right, let's revisit the trivia question. Who has the longest reception for a TD in the UCF Temple series? Trace, Mike, either one of you know the answer to this question?
No, I was not thinking of it, so I usually defer to the fans on that. I wasn't zeroing in on that one. Who is the longest reception?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. We play Temple every year. Obviously, everybody goes back to that 2013 game, the J.J. Wharton one. That was, 38 yards? There has to be a long one. If I just took a guess, I'd say like Traquan Smith had a long one somewhere along the line. I can't think of a specific one.
Marlon Williams last year took one 73 yards. Next closest, Mike, actually was Traquan Smith. He had a 55-yarder and that 2016 tilt. Rashad Perryman had a 54-yarder in 2014. And fun fact, Mackenzie Milton, longest run, 63-yard run for a touchdown in the 2016 game as well. That was a heartbreaking game for those of you who remember that one. Lost on the last-second touchdown pass from P.J. Walker to some guy in the back of the end zone that I don't want to talk about. But let's talk a little bit more Temple. So the news that we learned off the top, Anthony Russo, their usual quarterback, who we've seen the last couple of seasons, will not be playing tonight. He'll be out due to COVID-19 restrictions. And so Real Mitchell, a more dual-threat quarterback, will be under the helm. I saw someplace that this was his first career start. Not sure if that's accurate, but Mike, what do you want to see UCF do to a quarterback, a young running quarterback, potentially making his first start? What do you want to see Randy Shannon dial up from a defensive standpoint?
Make the kid one-dimensional. Make him have to beat you in the air. Keep a spy on him. Do whatever you got to do. We've discussed the troubles we've had against running quarterbacks throughout the years. This was news to me. Trace broke the news at the beginning of the show. It kind of gave me a flashback to 2011. There was a game against UAB where at the last minute their quarterback wasn't starting. I think their offensive tackle wasn't starting, and they were missing another starter. And it was a game we were supposed to win easily, and they ended up beating us on the road with like a 50-yard field goal or something at the end. And that was the game where I lost it and wanted George O'Leary fired. Probably one out of like 1,000.
The first game? The first game you wanted him fired, or just one of them?
No, that was the one where I actually drew the line and said I canceled my season tickets because of that game. After that, and I didn't have season tickets for a couple of years after that. But just keep the kid. He hasn't started the game like you said. Keep him. Make him have to beat you in the air, which is something he has to prove he can do. We know, or we hear, that he has legs. Make him use his arm.
I can't confirm he does have legs, so hopefully that works out. That works out well. Trace, how about on the offensive side? Obviously, not much to really tweak on that front. Do you think it's business as usual from the UCF offense tonight?
Well, Temple is 98th in the country in rushing defense. UCF averaged 6.9 yards a carry against Houston. You want to see him blow them out of the water early, right? The up-tempo right off the top, and rely on the running game. Running game, 389 yards last time out. Updating Temple Owls Daily, listing all of the Owls that will not be playing, and Brian Murphy at @Spokes_Murphy providing some perspective that this list includes 2 quarterbacks, a starting offensive tackle, 2 wide receivers, including their leader in receiving yardage, 4 linebackers, a couple of backup O-linemen, a couple of long snappers. Slim Pickens for Slim Pickens.
I lost count.
Temple. This is an overmatched team, and you need to go out and take care of business. Stay up tempo, run the ball, and I think we talk about this all the time. Run up the score, get some guys out, put some guys in. And if I'm Heupel, you're up big at half. I'd like to see Heupel leave, to be honest with you. I'd like to see him start working on the game plan for Cincinnati. Shane Burnham or someone else can run the team for the second half. I'd like to see the league. I mean, I don't want to be talking ahead again, but this is it for me on Heupel. This is the bowl game next week. You've had a year to prepare and outcoach Luke Fickell. So as far as I'm concerned, he can start at halftime.
Hey, I mean, these guys, we saw what happened with the Cows today and blown out by Houston. They were missing a lot of guys because of COVID or whatever it was, whatever reasons they weren't playing. They had 13 guys missing. This Tampa team is coming in shorthanded. There is no excuse to have this even as a close game. Trace is right. I don't want to see any key injuries late in the game because these guys are still hanging in there. Get everybody out at halftime. Get Quadri Jones or get Parker Navarro or have Mackenzie Milton dress at halftime and come out and give us a couple series. Something, just get the backups in there. Guys we haven't seen much of. Some wide receivers, Amari Johnson. Guys, get some playing time and some new names and fresh faces out there.
All right, so that changes the narrative a little bit. Obviously, with Temple being, we knew they'd be undermanned with only 50 folks potentially traveling, but we weren't sure how undermanned. Now, Trace obviously adding that context, previously unknown, and thanks.
We lose Adam again?
All right, we've lost Adam.
Oh, here we go. Well, this is going to be that Johnny Richardson second half game, I think, Trace. What do you think? He's going to score like 3 or 4 touchdowns in the second half.
Well, and now that UCF does not have those guys that have been starters, and there's Adams back, and we've seen going to Cam Good and Tatum Bethune, and now depth is hit a little bit for UCF, certainly on defense. So you need these guys that stepped up so well against Houston to continue to perform. And you need other guys to get reps. So, I know Heupel has not been one to run up the score in his career. Cincinnati, by the way, being blasted for running up the score. Fake punt late up a lot against ECU. Boy, we've been clamoring for that. I'd rather us be accused every once in a while of not being good sports, but have such a comfortable lead that you have opportunity to do some other things. So I just want to see guys those guys that stepped up so well last week, continue that success this week against Temple, and as you said, get out injury-free.
All right, let's do score predictions. Obviously, with a lot of info now available to us about who is and is not playing for Temple, maybe that changes your mind. So, Mike, I will start with you. Give me your score prediction for tonight's game.
Hey, last year, this was the team we blew out the most. I think we scored 63 points. We talked to Dylan Barnes, kicked 9 extra points. I think if we score under 60 with the amount of guys these guys are missing this week, I'd be disappointed. So I'm
160? 60.
68-10.
Wow.
Yeah. Johnny
Trace.
Richardson, 4 touchdowns in the second half.
Yeah, I don't see Coach Heupel getting to that many points. I'll go 56-17. Blowout in the first half. Garbage time. Some points there for both, and big blowout at the half. Something like 42-6 or something like that by half.
Well, my key is Johnny Richardson running the touchdowns in the second half. So we're not throwing it, but they're still not able to stop him.
Yeah, I got 52-21 as my score. I agree with Trace. I think we'll be up big. I think Heupel will take his foot off the gas. We'll have a lot of 3-and-outs, and it'll be an Andrew Osteen exhibition there, hopefully in the second half at some point. And hopefully UCF comes out comfortable. We do have a 55-17 prediction here. This guy really likes your beard, by the way, Trace. William Larson, big fan of the beard. Chris Marazzo. 53-21 is Chris's prediction. Brian wants to know what a prediction is, but did not give one, so I don't know what Brian's prediction is, but hopefully it's a good one. And then, we have tonight, and then Cincinnati game coming up 3:30 Saturday at the Bounce House. We'll see what that holds. Obviously, UCF must take care of business tonight, and we should not overlook where we are. And hopefully we're talking to you all next Saturday, 2:30. And we're getting you ready for UCF hosting, I guess, a top 7 or 8 team. I'm not sure. Cincinnati won last week but dropped 2 spots, so who knows what happens this week. So we'll see where Cincinnati lines up. If you're watching on ESPNU, you are now seeing some shots of UCF players warming up. Jalen Robinson made a catch. No one was guarding him, though, so I'm not sure if that's really noteworthy. But hopefully he makes catches with folks guarding him as we get there. But announcers are on screen. So let's, I guess we'll bid adieu to the UCF, Sons of UCF pregame show here for week 7. And thank everybody for listening, watching. Thanks for Dylan Barnes, Bree McNaught for joining us here on the show this week. And we will be back each and every game day. Only 2 left, maybe 3 left. Who knows?
4,
maybe 4.
4 left, 5
Hey.
left. Who knows what it looks like? But make sure you tune in. Join us on the Sons of UCF podcast each and every week. Follow us all on Twitter at Sons of UCF, at UCF Mike, and UCF Mike 1, and at @Pez for Mr. Troko. Until then, everybody, we will see you all next week. Go Knights.
Charge on.